So, in full disclosure, we actually got an early preview of the full run of show today, and I happened to click through it this morning and saw James's pictures. Without knowing what James was going to talk about, I guessed when I saw the pictures. And it turns out that I have a picture too, that because of where James ended is where I'm going to start. This is, in Houston ISD, this is the Hattie Mae White cafeteria. Sort of as James was describing, we have a similar issue, as the water park would allude to, with school districts getting pretty creative with some of their money. So the Hattie Mae White cafeteria is a $34 million project put together by the Houston ISD, and it's a cafeteria. It's a gourmet cafeteria that has a Starbucks in it, and it is housed in the administration headquarters, right? So while it's accessible for everybody to use, unless a teacher is going to leave his or her classroom, drive across town, he or she will not be able to have access to it. You'll be pleased to know that they do have an executive chef who is very sensitive to staff diversity, so they serve certain dishes such as oxtail and curry, and I wanted to make sure you knew that, as well as knowing that the completion of this project occurred shortly after Hurricane Harvey, which seemed in little bit more poor taste than one would hope. But it follows with and I wanted to add to James's water park, I believe they also created a baseball stadium in that project, but they don't have a baseball team. It's sort of like the if you build it, they will come. We'll follow up and let you know if indeed they ever get a baseball team. That being said, I don't want to just pick on public schools because I don't want to give anyone the impression that we are against public schools. We are not against public schools. We are certainly not against teachers. We are about kids, and we are about kids having success academically, because indeed it is. What happens in Texas, as goes Texas, so goes the nation, right? And Texas educates 1 in 10 American kids. So we have to get it right here, and right now we're not getting it right. The good news is there are some new tools in place that we have access to as citizens, in terms of transparency that we haven't before, and this gives us as policy folks, we geek out on it because it means that regular folks that before I did this, I didn't understand what recognized and exemplary and all that stuff was. Now I know if my school gets an A, that's really good. If it gets an F, we're in big trouble. So it's a step in the right direction, and we focus at TPPF and K-12 education. We believe that choice is the best way to get there, right? We believe in transparency. The A through F rating system is a great step towards transparency, but if folks have transparency, then they're gonna say, I'm not getting what I want, and we believe that will be these are stepping stones towards more choice for Texas parents, Texas children. Of course, quality of instruction is tantamount to child success. So what we always say at TPPF when we're focusing on our issues, you ask yourself the question, is it going to benefit the child, and is it going to benefit the teacher and the classroom? And if the answer is yes, then it's the right thing to do. So as I mentioned, Texas just released in August its first A through F grading system. Every district in Texas, not every campus, but every district in Texas received a grade, A, B, C, D, or F. Really simple. What you hear a lot of outcry around is that, oh my gosh, you can't just grade me based on a test, how my kids perform on this test. That's not what this system does. The test is, of course, a part of how well you're performing. That is why you take tests, so that you know how you are performing. But it's only a small part. There are 3 different domains that come into consideration when you're grading a school, when you're grading a district. Dallas, as you'll see, got a B, which sounds good. I happen to personally believe that the grade posts were moved a little bit right before the grades were released, and they weren't as severe, I think, as some people were expecting. But if you look, it's broken down into 3 different domains. First domain is, of course, student achievement, which does include how kiddos perform on the STAR test. Everybody loves to hate the STAR test, and I'm not here to advocate for the STAR test. But we do need to know how children are performing. Are they learning? Thank you, Clint. And so that is, with the STAR test, you guys should know that the STAR questions, they're developed by teachers. The STAR test, the questions are developed by teachers, they're approved by teachers. This is a teacher-driven initiative. And I feel like that's a good arrow in our quiver when folks love to hate on the STAR test, is this is not an anti-teacher instrument. The second domain here is school progress, which essentially says, is this school growing year after year? The final one is closing the gaps, and I think numbers 2 and 3 are really important because it means, look, we recognize if you have 100% of the kiddos that you're educating are the most difficult to educate and they don't do well on the STAR test, you're going to get credit if you're growing them. Are they improving? Are the students improving? Is the school improving? And if so, you're going to get credit for that, which I think is really important. Because again, it gives us access to information about who's doing well and who's not. So Dallas gets a B. There's a little information there that, like, oh, ouch, that's 20 getting a D and an F, and this one, so let's go back to the STAR. This is something I think that's important to know, that while we are getting a B in Dallas, which again is overall a good grade, academically speaking, and this is about the STAR, you've gotten, this is kind of hard to see, so let me look here. What you'll see is the red line is the state average. So mastering grade level speaks for itself, right? You are above where you should be. You've mastered it. We have about 17% in Dallas that master. Meeting, 41%. The state scores 48. And approaching, which remarkably, we get credit if you're almost passing, is 71% of kiddos. So the largest portion of kids in Dallas are not even meeting grade level where the STAR test is concerned. Understandably, the demographics in Dallas, some of that is understandable, and they are getting credit for growing these kiddos and improving these kiddos. Here's some really good news though. Dallas leads the way, not just in Texas, but and I've seen some national articles as well. They have started what's called the ACE program. It's an acronym that I can't remember right now, but it's essentially, look, it's not rocket science. We know teachers that are performing really well because we can tell, right? We can look at demographically the most difficult to educate populations across the city of Dallas, the schools that have underperformed year after year after year, and we can tell we know who the kids are, and then we know what teachers are doing well. When you walk into any school in the state of Texas, you can ask any parent, who are the good teachers, who are the bad teachers? Everybody knows who they want their kid to have. So the good teachers, what they're doing is they're looking at the good teachers saying, you are doing great stuff, we're gonna pay you more. Go figure, free market. We're gonna pay you more to go do what you do over here so well for these kids. And they are getting rock star results. Look at the difference between 2015 and 2016. In 1 year, you can see each of those categories, how much that program is making a difference. Richardson ISD is lifting 100% of the program in Dallas and implementing it at Richardson. I mean, they just said, we want this program in Richardson. We're not even going to try to make it our own. And there are 2 other districts that we understand are also doing the same. And so Dallas has been a leader in this. You should commend your superintendent. He's been down in Austin advocating during the School Finance Commission for this is how you get student results. You look at what's working, you look at who's doing it, and you replicate it. So anyway, Dallas is to be commended. I was going to end with the Hattie Mae, but you already got that story. So maybe someday y'all can visit and get some oxtail. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, I'm Tom Lindsay, and as both Brenda and Kevin mentioned, I work in higher education. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Lynn Davenport. I am a public school parent of kids in Richardson ISD. Stephanie, thank you for pointing out the frivolous expenditures like the gourmet coffee shop and what they're using the bond dollars. I'm fighting that in my district. Another thing I'm fighting is a 12.5% increase in our property taxes that both Richardson ISD and Dallas ISD are promoting. But I have to tell you that there's a contradiction in what you said, because if you're promoting the ACE program that's happening in Dallas ISD, which a lot of those teachers are leaving after the stipend ends in 3 years, they're coming to Richardson ISD for our ACE program. So I'd love to talk with you offline about that, but just know that that's partly what Dr. Hinojosa is using the 12.5% increase to fund. He said at the legislature, it's unsustainable.
Yeah.
So careful, really be careful on that, because you could be promoting things that are progressive strategies that are not working.
Well, yes, and I have heard that, and I've also heard the teacher shifting claim. So a couple of things. One is, I think fundamentally, what you have with both DISD and San Antonio ISD is also working. It's not the ACE program, but it is a teacher pay incentive system, right? But these superintendents are hamstrung because their teachers, the ones that are not performing well and aren't eligible for the big pay raises, San Antonio, they walked out, even though the San Antonio superintendent said, okay, I'm going to give these teachers more because their performance has earned it, but I'm giving everybody a raise. No matter what, I'm giving every teacher a raise, and I'm also giving, and I'm not going to fire anybody, because he was trying not to have chaos. And of course, chaos ensued no matter what, and they sued the school district and they did not win. But, and I guess I would say is, there are so many ways, and that cafeteria is just one example, and there's so many other places to cut. And that's what's so maddening, is that I've empathy for the superintendents, because they know that the teachers will cause chaos, but the buck's gotta stop somewhere. And I think it's important for the superintendent, for us to give the superintendent cover and support them when we can for doing brave things like that, but also your school boards. Dallas actually has a really great school board that is metric-based.
They do not.
They do not?
We'll talk offline. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me just say, from what we've seen, and I met with a couple of them who are very data-driven, and they are all about, if it works in the classroom, then we will support it. So giving boards, having strong boards that are willing to stand up and say, we've got to do what's best for kids, let's cut where needs to be cut, and let's support the good teachers where we can.
Thanks for the question.
Thanks for that.
Opposite side of the room, yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Dean
We sent all our
Stones.
kids
I
to
first
private
want to say
school.
thank you for being
Local
here
schools are
today.
so bad.
It's